The cleanup of cartridge-based games is pretty simple. We're going to talk about cleaning the connectors, or the pins, on a cartridge-based game here, Punch-Out!, and to clean the plastic cartridge itself on Destruction Derby 64 here. So what we're going to need to do that is a small cup of water. This is rubbing alcohol. I'm using 91%, but anything above 70% should be okay. Below that is too much water and could corrode the pins if it does not evaporate fast enough, so I recommend using anything above 70% rubbing alcohol. What we've also got is a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and some Q-tips. So, one problem that people commonly run into with cartridge-based games is that the pins get dirty on the cartridge. So we're just going to open this up and show you what I'm talking about. The brass connectors right here are what's called the pins, and they get extremely dirty if they're not cleaned often. As you can see here, there's some tarnish and some dirt across them. On both sides, they're rather dirty. They should be a shiny brass color, but there's some black spotting here. So what we do is we take some Q-tips in rubbing alcohol and just rub along the pins gently. And this should clean off most of the dirt and grime that builds up over the years. That should return them to a shiny state. And what that looks like, you don't have to take apart your cartridges to do this. In fact, I wouldn't do that at all. I just took this one apart to illustrate, but what I recommend doing and how I clean them out is by, let me get this snapped back together. I usually take 2 Q-tips, I dip them in rubbing alcohol, and I rub them on the inside like so. I get both sides thoroughly. And if your game is having any trouble with a gray blinking screen, a pink screen, this can alleviate it 80%, 90% of the time, I would say, is that your games are dirty. Otherwise, the system itself is dirty, and that's a little bit harder to clean out. I'll cover that in another video. So here we'll clean off the pins on Destruction Derby as well. See, there's a little bit of gunk and dirt. The Q-tips usually get colored sort of a bluish-black color from the tarnish that builds up. So how we clean the plastic cartridge on these games is with a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. You just want to get that a little bit wet with water. Just a little bit. And very gently go over any Sharpie, magic marker, any dirt or gunk like that, and this takes it right off. You have to be extremely gentle though, because the Mr. Clean Magic Erasers are essentially very fine-grained sandpaper. So what this is doing is just rubbing off the layers of Sharpie, and if you're not careful, it can also rub off the texture of games, so that's something that you do not want to happen if you're a collector. And just gently go over all sides of the game cartridge. This will remove pretty much anything. Can't take out scratches and dents, but it does remove nearly everything else. I've also used it on labels before. You just have to be extremely gentle with the labels. Very, very gentle, because it will rub the ink straight off the label. But as you can see, it does take the Sharpie off. I wouldn't recommend this on any games that are more valuable. I used it to clean some Sharpie off the label of a Conker's Bad Fur Day once, and it did do some damage to the label. I was a little disappointed in myself, but yeah, it does take most of the Sharpie off the label if you do it very gently. I wouldn't recommend doing it on the labels, but if there is no other option, you probably can try that. Just don't blame me if you bust up your labels.